This might sound crazy, but getting cut from your basketball team can actually be a great thing. Maybe it's the wake-up call you need to work harder so that it doesn't happen again. I'm sure you've all heard the famous Michael Jordan story about him not making his varsity team. Getting cut could also help you realize that all the effort you might have to put in to make the team the next time isn't worth it, and maybe basketball really isn't for you. Both of these can be really productive in clarifying what your aspirations are. But hopefully most of you do want to make your team. So let me know in the comments what you think your chances are of making the team this winter. Now, the best way to get cut from your basketball team and to fail during tryouts is to blend in. This is especially true if you aren't already on a coach's radar ahead of time. I know I was a big culprit of this when I was younger because I was insecure and I was sort of scared to stand out amongst the crowd. Luckily, my high school coach already knew who I was from my middle school team, so he already had his eye on me. Many of you might not have that luxury. You might be in a situation where you have to completely prove yourself. And the first step to catching a coach's eye is to not blend in. So what are some ways to really stand out at tryouts? This first point might be a bit controversial, but especially at a basketball tryout, you have to be a little bit selfish. For some players, a tryout can be a unique challenge because it focuses more on individual performance than winning games. Unlike regular practices or games where the team's success is the main goal, tryouts are an opportunity for players to showcase their individual skills. And this means some players will need to adopt a more assertive mentality, essentially being a bit more selfish than usual. Now, I expect some criticism for this, but I stand by my belief that some young players should be more aggressive. It is the main advice I would give to myself as a younger player. Put yourself in a coach's shoes. Which player would you prefer on your team? Player one, who just moves the ball or stands in the corner waiting for their teammates to score or get them a wide open shot? Or player two, who actually does the scoring and creates those open shots for player one? I know this is a really simplified way to think about the game of basketball, but the logic is hard to deny. Every basketball team needs its creators and its role players. But during tryouts, you might be competing with 25, 50, or more players for 10 to 12 spots. Even the role players who make the team are gonna have to show some real skill during tryouts. And this leads me right to my next point. Another way you will blend in with the crowd is if you're a below average basketball player. I remember freshman year of high school, a close friend of mine went out for the team and got cut. When he found out, he immediately blamed the coach and said there were politics involved, or else he would have made it. I wanted to say, my guy, you didn't make the team because you didn't put in the necessary work to develop your game. You weren't good enough. And it was true. I think he only played rec and had never focused on his training at all. How can you expect to be rewarded with a spot if you aren't a strong player and you haven't put in the effort? I went to a really big high school, about 3,000 kids. I think even tryouts for the freshman team had about 50 guys. The unfortunate reality was that some kids who worked hard and truly loved the game still got cut. So my advice is to prepare as much as you can leading up to tryouts. If they're in November, which is when mine were, try and spend the fall getting in the gym every day, really getting into basketball shape to give yourself the best chance possible. Also, along with your regular training, prioritize getting live play in. Some of you young hoopers might spend the summer after your AAU or spring season really training and working on your skills, but you don't play in any pickup or games. While I do believe training is more crucial than games for young players, showing up to tryouts without having played a live pick and roll situation in 6 months isn't ideal. Basically, making a team isn't handed to you. It's earned by preparing and then performing. Another challenging aspect of tryouts that really shows how careful you have to be about blending in is that you don't have much time to prove yourself. I just said you need to perform, but at my high school, tryouts only lasted 3 days. This can put a lot of pressure on you if you feel like you aren't playing well. While it's not exactly the same, during my time at Colgate, we hosted the Colgate Elite Camp every summer. I actually attended this camp when I was in high school, and it's where high school players get to come to campus, meet the players and coaches, and attend a 2-day camp. But as a Colgate player, every year I would actually have my own sort of team full of high school athletes that I would coach during the competitive parts of the camp. And just like a tryout, These players are trying to prove themselves, but 2 days isn't much time to do that. However, I always noticed how these players carried themselves on and off the court, not just how many points they were scoring or how they were shooting from three. For example, if a player on my team wasn't shooting well, but remained confident and didn't dwell on his misses, I could tell they were likely a good shooter just having an off day. I think the same can be said at basketball tryouts. A confident, positive player can stand out regardless of their shooting performance. Like if I was a coach and I saw a high school player during tryouts huddle up their team before live play and call out all the matchups, I would be blown away. I don't care if that kid scores 30 points or 10 points or 0. They are different and they stand out. Which reminds me, another mistake that kids make is by trying too hard to be cool. On day 1 of tryouts, you're gonna step on that court and you're probably gonna be surrounded by a lot of your peers and friends. It's natural to wanna fit in and impress them, but this mindset can really hurt your chances. Maybe I'm old now and it's different, but I remember in high school, if you took gym class too seriously, you were labeled a tryhard, and this was looked down upon. Maybe I only know this because I went too hard a few times in kickball and people started saying this to me. But I want you all to channel that try-hard energy into your tryouts, even if it maybe gets a laugh from your friends who think that they're already good enough to make the team without any extra effort. Please, just for me, can none of you be that kid who's not paying attention or even worse, talking while the coach is explaining something? Please avoid going through the drills and scrimmages like a robot or unenthusiastically. Listen, I get it. The drills might feel boring or unnecessary, or your scrimmage team might not be the best, but none of it matters. Your only goal is to earn one of those spots. And to do that, you might have to put your pride aside. Look your coach in the eyes when he speaks. Sprint from drill to drill. Hustle for loose balls. Do all the things that might seem like common sense, but a lot of kids aren't willing to do. I hope you got something from all this information, but in reality, don't overthink this. I believe in you all, and you clicked on this video because you really care and you want to succeed. But remember, it's basketball tryouts. No matter what happens, it isn't the end of the world. Go out there, do what you do, play the way you play, and of course, have fun. You get to play basketball. Even if it doesn't work out, just make sure you leave your stamp on those few days. And if you're a player who struggles with overthinking, check out this video on 3 ways to stop overthinking in your games. I can't wait to hear how it goes for you all. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will talk to you soon.